So again, we're here for 3 tips on how to get that next job or role that you want. So let's start talking about those 3 tips. Again, this is Bernice Maldonado. Starting with tip number 1, that's super important, which is understand that you're already qualified enough. So what I mean by that, or what that looks like, is that you have confidence in your current skills, abilities, talent, your experience, your education. And what this also looks like is that you're not waiting to have to get more education or more experience before you start pursuing new opportunities or before you start making a change in your career. However, as I say that too, it's important to also know other areas where you want to improve. But if you're looking to make a change now or get a different job now, it's important to really have confidence in your current skills and abilities that you have as of today. Now, it's important because when you have this confidence in who you are today, it's going to show up in everything you do, and how you talk, how you sound, the way you act, even things like your posture. When you're confident about yourself, you have a tendency to stand up straight, look people in the eye, etc. So it's really important to make sure you have that confidence in your current skills. It'll also allow you to be more open to new opportunities or take on new challenges that come your way, right? And just keep in mind also that there have been surveys that companies have said they are totally willing to hire people that don't have the required skill sets that they're looking for in a person. They're willing to train them. But as long as you're able to show that confidence that you can take on that role, you're going to have a much easier time getting that job that perhaps you don't meet all of the requirements, right? So a way that you can start implementing and how to gain more confidence in your skills is to simply put together an inventory of all of the skills that you have to date. Now, make sure to include everything that comes to mind, right? Don't discount any of your current skills. Just put together a list of every skill that you've acquired to this point. You can also brainstorm by asking yourself, what am I really good at? What do I really enjoy doing throughout the day? Or what seems to come very easy for me, or what seems to be natural for me to do every day, right? So that's a way of implementing tip number 1, which is knowing and having confidence that you're already qualified enough. And I really want to stress this first tip because I know a lot of times when we start talking to people sometimes about our interests in changing careers or changing jobs, sometimes we might hear people tell us, well, you might need more experience or education. Well, I'm here to tell you that you can leverage your existing skills and experience now to make a change. Take more time to build confidence in your current skills and implementing the next 2 steps that I'll talk about. So as a reminder, tip number 1 is confidence in knowing you're already qualified enough. And a pro tip on this one as well is make sure to identify those skills that are transferable or transferable skills. Now, you may have heard of those type of skills. Essentially, they are skills that can be transferred or used in different industries, across different jobs, etc. So as you're building out your skills list or your inventory of your skills, make sure to try to identify or name that transferable skill. So one example of that might be maybe you find yourself listing out a lot of different software programs that you're really good at. So in addition to outlining all of those different software programs, it'd also be good to summarize your knowledge of them by mentioning your transferable skill is that you're technology savvy. You're able to learn technology very quickly, right? So that's a way of identifying your transferable skill. Once you inventory all of your skills, you can actually use this list right away because number 1, it can serve as your brag sheet. You can keep it as a reminder of all the great things you're good at and just keep up your confidence around that. You can also start updating your current job accomplishments if you're, in your current job and you want to update your employee file. Another way that you can use it is you can use it as a way to identify areas where you want to improve or develop more skills around. Or you can even start using it to update your resume or your LinkedIn. So there's several ways that you can use this brag sheet or list of skills that you have. So again, tip number 1, if you're just joining us, is having and building that confidence that you're already qualified enough. Tip number 2 is knowing what you're good at. So knowing what you're great at actually is what I mean to say. And what that looks like is knowing what your top 3 skills are. And what these would be is essentially they are your top marketable skills, right? These are the things that you want to be known for, that you want people to know about you. So again, once you have your inventory that I just talked about, you would then look at your inventory of skills and identify, out of that huge list that I'm sure you have, you would identify your top 3 to 5 marketable skills from that list. And this is super important because these are essentially your superpowers, right? These are the skills that will get you your new role, your new career, will help you make a change much faster and much more easily, because marketable skills are in demand. And once you're able to really hone in and clarify what your marketable skills are, it's going to be so much more easier for you to, be pursued for new opportunities or be identified for new roles. And the other important thing too is that most people actually don't know what their top skills are, or can't identify what their top skills are. And because of that, they're probably not even being used, or they're probably not even using those skills at work right now, nor are they being fairly compensated for their true value, right? So it's really important to know those top 3 to 5 skills. The way that you can also hone in better on those top 3 to 5 skills is you take each skill and you kind of assess them based on 3 criteria that I highly recommend. Those 3 criteria are: it has to be recent success. You've had recent success applying them within the past 3 to 5 years. The second criteria is you're known as the expert or the go-to person. So if you find yourself with, or people often are asking you for help on this specific skill set or specific help on certain issues or problems, then you're known as the go-to person again. So think about those skills that you often use that people come to you for help. And third, do you enjoy it, right? You don't want to be out there marketing or selling skills that you don't enjoy doing. So those are the 3 criteria. So again, tip number 2 is know what you're great at. And as a reminder, tip number 1 was know and be confident that you're already qualified enough. Tip number 2 is know what you're great at, right? So tip number 3 that I want to share today is you got to sell your skills. So what I mean by that is you have to get comfortable with talking about yourself, talking about what you're really good at, and giving examples of why you think you're really good at it, right? Now, this is important because it's going to make you sound knowledgeable. It's going to increase your own confidence. And most importantly, it gives other people confidence in your potential, right? So if they hear you speak confidently about yourself and you know exactly what you're good at, and you've delivered results in the past with these skills, people are going to be more apt to really consider you if they're looking to fill a new position, a new role, whatever it might be, right? So make sure that you really practice on talking about yourself. I'm always amazed how many people cannot talk about their skills, even though they are super experienced, have a lot of education, or have a lot of great skills. I recently was interviewing for roles for senior level positions in a company, and I found that a lot of those candidates, even though they had tons of experience, had a great resume, had a great LinkedIn profile, but when we started asking them about their skills and giving examples of how their skills would help them in the role that they were applying for, they had a really hard time communicating that. And so that's why I really want to emphasize this third tip, which is just getting comfortable with talking about yourself and just talking about your skills and why you're good at it. I would have to say, just based on my experience, my 20 plus years of experience in human resources and management, both hiring people and looking for candidates, this is one of the areas that is often lacking with a lot of people, is being able to communicate and articulate what skills they have and what their top skills are, most importantly. The other thing too is that once you are able to not only identify your skills, like in tip number 2, but now communicate and talk about them, it's going to empower you to be able to ask for more or to even get more, right? It's going to empower you to be able to get more promotions, to ask for a raise more with more clarity, to just get, make a career change that's more easy and less stressful. So this is really, really a powerful tool to be able to communicate your top skills. Now, the way you're going to implement this is once you have identified your top 3 to 5 marketable skills, is you're going to then identify for each skill, you're then going to identify a situation or a problem where you applied that skill, right? Where it helped you solve a problem. So then once you identify that situation, you're then going to identify the different actions you took, right, to resolve that problem or to address that challenge that you came across. And then third, what you're going to do is you're going to talk about the result, right? So the result, what was the result of that action, of those actions you took? Did you help the company save money? Did you help reduce, time to implement a project? What was the result, right? Preferably try to find those results that you can tie some number or a percentage to. But if you can't, at least having a very clear result from that is super, super helpful. And in case you're familiar with it or not familiar with it, this type of identifying your skills and giving kind of a storytelling background to it is called the CAR method. It's the challenge, action, result. So driving clarity, right, to your skills by using kind of a storytelling approach to it so that you can explain to people what your skill is, how you applied it in a situation, what actions you took, and what was the result of it. And the way you can use this type of storytelling or this type of approach to explain your skills is you can use it during interviews. You can use it during your performance reviews at your current job. So if you want to explain why you exceeded expectations, you can use this type of approach. The other way you can use it too is if you want to, request a raise. You can, of course, use it in networking, which is super important, right? Because at networking events, you really want to make sure that people know about you and they know what results you deliver. Some pro tips that I want to really share about this third tip, which is you've got to sell your skills, is remember to be brief, be brilliant, and be gone. This is one of the most important tips that I want to give people is, yes, you definitely need to practice, but also practice on being very, very brief when you're talking about yourself, right? Because people don't want to know your whole history. They want to just hear it briefly enough so that they know that they have confidence in what you're saying you're skilled at, right? The other thing I want to mention too is try to avoid industry jargon. So when you're talking about your skills, make sure that it's kind of, you talk about them in a broader sense, in a way that it could be applied to different roles, different industries. So if you are a technology person who wants to go into the, be more in the business side of things, make sure you learn how to talk just more in a general sense and you're not using a lot of different IT or technology terms that a business person would not be familiar with. And last but not least, like I mentioned, make sure that you focus on the result, numbers or any other type of proof that you can show that your skills helped with some sort of problem or issue, right? Because that's what companies want today. They want people who can help resolve problems, meet challenges, whatever it might be. So if you have that really good proof, for example, that's going to take you a long way. And again, so the 3 tips as a reminder was number 1, remember and know that you're already qualified enough. Number 2 is know what you're great at. And number 3 is you've got to sell your skills. Now, I know I mentioned some tips on how to implement, but I will be holding a webinar soon on that will take you step by step in how to implement these steps, and it'll give you more information. So be on the lookout for that. But in the meantime, remember, you are already qualified enough. Make sure that you know what your top skills are and also practice talking about yourself. It'll change your life. Believe me, it's helped me so much throughout my career. Once I got really good at it, I just continuously saw an increase in, my earning potential, the opportunities I got, everything else. And I want these tips to also help you go from pursuing jobs to being pursued to opportunities. So that's the main goal of these tips. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me, send me a message. And thank you for now. Take care.